Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Today, we are going to be joined by a very special patriot. This is someone who has gone through the ringer and back, to hell and back, if you want to say that. Somebody who previously lived their life definitely on the wrong side of the law. They got into some trouble, they learned their lesson, and now they have committed their life to God and fighting this spiritual war that we find ourselves in today. He has quite the story. We're just going to call him Joe, and that's all that we know about him personally. I, myself, have spoken to this person on many occasions. I have vetted him and his story. I can tell you that it is real. I just want to tell everyone in advance it was necessary to mask his voice so that his identity could not be revealed. So please bear with me. It is a little bit strange sounding, but it was the best thing that I could do in order to make it so we could hear his story and he could remain safe living his life. What you're about to hear is a story of intrigue, a story of criminal activity, a story of redemption, some inside information on how certain government agencies conduct their business. You might be a little bit surprised to hear this, or you very well may not be. Also, it is directly connected to the story of Keith Rainiere and the NXIVM cult that we've talked so much about on this channel in the past. So I want everyone to sit back, relax, grab your popcorn, and we'll be right back after a quick word from my sponsor. When emergencies strike, you always see news stories of long lines of people and empty store shelves. There's no need to be part of that chaos and the possibility of having to deal with FEMA food lines. Those that know what's coming are using today to prepare. You should make a plan too. I have, starting with building an emergency food supply, and I trust and use my Patriot supply. They are experts in emergency preparedness and have guaranteed 2-day delivery. Disasters won't wait. Why should you? Act now and save $70 on a 2-week emergency food kit when you go to my special website, preparewithredpill78.com. My Patriot Supply food kits last up to 25 years in storage and include breakfasts, lunches, and dinners. Order a few today and receive guaranteed 2-day delivery discreetly to your door. Take action so you're ready for what's coming and save $70. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. Go to preparewithredpill78.com. Once again, that's preparewithredpill78.com. All right, sweet. So on the phone with me right now is none other than the man who took down Keith Rainiere, Joe. That may not be his real name. We'll say that up front. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm excellent. So it's not just that. I mean, like, you've got quite the story all around. Why don't you give us an introduction to yourself, tell us who you are, and then we'll go from there.
All right. First and foremost, I'm bad with dates. I'll give you a rough year, but like actual dates, you're gonna have to look that up because my days run together. Let me see, from 1999, 98 through 2004, 5, something like that, I had permission from the local, I'm not going to say what local, but the local DEA to sell drugs, to sell cocaine and handguns.
Wow. Okay, so when you say you had permission, how did you go about getting that permission?
Well, I've been in a business that requires a lot of travel, going to places, from places, and one day I got pulled over and I had a lot of equipment on me. And after going through quite an extensive search and just a crazy couple of weeks, I ended up getting out on bail. It's like $52,000 to get out. And while I was at my office, if you will, some cars showed up, and there's about 4 or 5 Crown Vics, all black on black. And I was told by one gentleman that all my charges will be dropped. My record will be expunged. It'll be like it never happened. If I were to do one thing. I was like, well, what? Desperate. I was young, so desperate times. It's like, well, what are you talking about? And he handed me a bag, a brown paper shopping bag, and it had 338 special short nose, stub nose revolvers, and it had, I think at the time it was about 1.5 ounces unstepped on. Stepped on means when you have cocaine, you step on it, which means you cut it. It means you turn 1 ounce or 1.5 ounces into 3 ounces, because if you mix it with a cut, normally it's Nesitol. Some people use baby laxatives. Some people use Vicodins. So you step on it, and when you step on it, you increase the quantity double. Right? You never want to put more than 50%.
Okay, so you were saying you step on the cocaine, and then you go ahead and sell it.
Well, again, to step on it doesn't mean you physically step on it. Anyways, you cut it, you break it up, then you package it into little gram packs, and you get rid of those. So I was told that if I were to get rid of these 338 special stub noses and this 1.5 ounces, all no harm, no foul. Forget about the charges, forget about everything. It's all washed.
All right. Now, just to be clear, when you said that you had a lot of equipment, are you talking about some type of contraband that you were traveling with across the United States?
Yeah.
What was that?
At the time, I was carrying a very small amount. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what you think small is, but I had 4 ounces of marijuana, and I think it was somewhere around half an ounce, maybe a little bit more. It was like 4 8-balls. An 8-ball is a little, it was about half an ounce of cocaine.
Okay. All right. So, were you part of some criminal organization, or were you just like an entrepreneur and you saw an opportunity to do this extra stuff on top of whatever your day job was?
Small time, I guess you would say, small time Italian from a city.
Okay. All right. Okay. So when they offered to take away your charges and they gave you this task, did they explain it at all? Did they say, why they needed you to sell drugs and guns for them?
I didn't ask too many questions, although it was more to get more information from other people. They wanted me to go, to be not so much a snitch, because they didn't really ask me any questions afterward, not many questions afterwards, but they did follow me. So everywhere that I went, or everywhere that everyone that came to me, they were watching them, trying to, find bigger fish and bigger fish and bigger fish. Right. So that went on for quite a few years.
Okay, so it wasn't just one time. It turned from one time into a regular gig.
Yeah, a shipment, I guess you would say, would show up with a guy probably once every 2 weeks, once every week and a half. Normally not the same amount, sometimes more, sometimes less, but there was always handguns. Always handguns were involved. Okay. Most numbers were filed off. Some were automatic, some were 45s, some were, again, stub-nose revolvers. It seemed to be a lot of stub-nose revolvers and a lot of 9mm 45s.
All right, and you said that these agents, they were DEA agents, or was it multiple people from different federal agencies?
The car, the only car that I remember always coming back had the placard, the DEA. So that's where I'm basing that off of. And
would they meet you at your home, or would you?
No, they would. It would be at a little burger shop across the way, or they would come directly to the place where I was at.
Okay.
It was like a warehouse, right? I ran a warehouse, and so they would come there, because it was just a warehouse. So there was nobody there ever, just about. I mean, just holding different things.
So you weren't worried at all about being seen with a DEA car?
What's that?
So you weren't worried about someone seeing you in the presence of DEA?
No, because again, it was a warehouse way out of the way. Nobody ever came to that particular, because there was an office, but the office was a few miles away. Mm-hmm. And that's normally where I spent the majority of my day, at the office doing things. And the warehouse was just a place to store cars, to store equipment, to store whatever.
Okay. All right. So after that one time when you were in the presence of multiple agents,
yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, can you tell me anything more about that? I mean,
all right. So the morning started off like any other day. It was just a day, right? I had my coffee, sitting there smoking a cigar, and dog starts going crazy. It was a little chow, well, a big chow, stupid dog. He started going crazy, and so I don't know if you've ever done any sort of. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I've been clean and sober for well over 10 years. So thank you. Yeah. So, but going back, when you get to a certain point, when you're doing a certain amount of anything, you start to get very paranoid. And so constant window looking, constant looking over your shoulder. And especially when you were doing a lot of work that I was doing, hired muscle, things like that, you always are watching your six, always. Heads on a swivel. So as soon as the dog starts to go crazy, I look out the windows. And across the way there was woods, like a short, like woods, and a wooded area, if you will, a little forest. And there's movement. Like, what the going on here? So I'm thinking I'm getting robbed, right? So I load up, lock and load, ready to rock and roll. Let's see what happens. And two cars come from, I don't know, north, south, east, and west. I don't know. Two cars come from the left, and two cars come from the right. Where I was, there was a two-entrance parking lot. So the two from the left, they went in, the closest one to them, and the two from the right came in the closest one. Now, what really was peculiar is the back lot was adjacent to a semi-company. The semi-company was completely blocked off, so I don't know how another car was able to come from the back. I still don't understand how they did that with them. I don't know how that happened. Yeah. So it was, like I said, it was like 4 or 5 4 Crown Vics, and then one little, it was like I don't even know, it was like a Ford SUV, but like a smaller one, not the big, not the big trucks. It's like a smaller SUV, and that's the one that came from the back. So I still don't know how that happened. So when they started to come in, I'm thinking that my bail's been revoked, my bond's been revoked, everything's going through my head, like, man. And here I am sitting at the desk with firearms, with equipment, and I'm like, shit. So when I opened the door, I did my best to put everything in the desk so they couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. First thing I asked for was a warrant, and they said we're not here for that. And that's when the conversation started. When the first guy told me, I was like, I want to see a warrant, whatever. And he said, we're not here for that. And then he holds the door for the guy with the brown bag. And the guy with the brown bag comes in. He sits down, and he doesn't say 2 words. Doesn't say hi. Doesn't nothing. I mean, obviously, I'm not expecting him to be cordial, but he doesn't say anything. So he sits seemed like forever, but it was only like 1 minute, 2 minutes, while the other 2 guys are eyeballing the entire area. They walk through the shop like they own the place, and they ended up leaving, and he left him in there, and that's when the conversation started. He was like, "Here's what we know about you. Blah, 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 blah. Here's your charges. Here's what you paid. Here's what you posted. Here's your bail." And that's when we'll go ahead and, I don't remember the exact phrasing, but it's basically, we'll go ahead and wipe all this, but you need to do this.
All right. And
so, like I said, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, and just to be clear, he made it sound like it was just going to be a one-time thing, right?
He didn't say a time, but I was under the impression, it's a one-time thing.
Okay, all right.
So that's why it went on for so long.
And again, how long did this go on for? How many years?
I don't know how many years exactly, but it was like 2000. I think the last thing was around 2005, 2006.
So 7 or 8 years, something like that.
Yeah.
So that must have been a tremendous pressure for you that entire time. I mean, were you using that entire time as well?
Not Not as much because you never get high on your own supply.
Sure. Well, and if the feds
But
are asking you to sell it,
well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I didn't not do it, but I just didn't, take, liberties.
well, I guess what I'm getting at is if you have like your regular life and at the same time you're being asked to traffic, guns and drugs throughout the community, and you're using at the same time. I mean, it just stands to reason that, like, why stop? I'm in this position, but that must have, heightened your anxiety and your awareness of your surroundings. I mean, I would think it would be pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it didn't help with the peace.
No.
Now the thing is my business was autos.
Okay.
So I was always able to go get 2 or 3 cars, send 2 or 3 cars, go pick up 2 or 3 cars, and each and every one of those cars would have something in it, to drop off here, sell these ones here, drop these ones here.
Extracurricular outside of the same.
No, that was how things got moved.
Oh, okay. All right. So you were selling to a large geographic area. It wasn't just like a local area.
3 states.
3 states. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Without asking you to identify anything specific, it seems to me like I would infer that this was them attempting to traffic an organized criminal cartel if they only wanted to just, watch you and see where you're going with stuff. So did you ever feel that your life was in danger? Were you ever?
Oh yeah, I was told many times that, it was the thing he always liked to say was, you never promise tomorrow.
The guy giving you the gear?
Yeah, he would always say, you're never promised tomorrow.
Wow.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask if they ever made overtures to the idea that this was going to end, or did it just stand, without saying that you were going to continue to do this until they had essentially used you up?
Pretty much that one. It was go till you can't go no more. Now again, this is so many years ago. I was very young.
Yeah.
And young, invincible. And nothing to live for at the time. No wife, no kids, nothing of value in my life. I left like parents' home when I was 14 years old.
Okay.
So I've been on my own since then, and that's been a long time.
Yeah.
There was no ties. Like if I were to die any of those days, it wouldn't have mattered to anybody.
Okay. All right. Do you have a family now?
I'm doing okay.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, I'm just wondering, hoping you have something to live for. That's all.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
So what was it that made you decide that you needed to stop doing this?
All right. I can't. It was 2006. Yeah, about 2006, going into 2007. It was just too much stress. It was too much heat. Too many people suspected too many things.
Okay.
And so the last one, I was out back, and back of the shop, and he comes around the back and just comes with a bag, and I was like, no, you know what? No, I did all I can. At the time, I would check with the courts and everything, my cases, and there was nothing. There was nothing. So as far as I was concerned, I did my part because all my cases were dropped. Everything was dropped. There was not even if you were to search my name in any federal, state, local, my name didn't pop up. No warrants, nothing. So as far as I was concerned, I was done. Now I'm in the back doing some, actual work, and I tell him, I'm not doing this anymore. And it gets into a little argument, and I was like, look, man, you got a gun and a badge, and I got 2 fists. I was like, how you want to go? There's no cameras here. Your car's up front. You have no cameras on you. It's your move. And so he pushes me. He pushes me. Now, behind me was a big piece of metal with like a steel rod pointing up. And he pushes me, and I fall onto that rod. And it goes from my back, just above, I think it would be like the second or third vertebrae, and it goes straight through, all the way through my belly button, all the way through.
Oh my God.
And he just left. He just left me there.
Oh my God. So what happened?
So I was impaled. So I was there for about, this was on a late Friday. Business, everyone else was gone. Business was closed getting ready to close for the day. The front doors were locked, so I was just in the back part with the garage door. Right, so it was cold. It's the north, so it's snow. So the garage door was closed. So it wasn't locked, but it was closed. So he just leaves, and I'm there bleeding until Monday morning, Sunday night, Monday morning. I can't remember exactly, because my business partner's dad was a very religious guy, so I want to say it's a Sunday, because he would come in on the days that nobody was there to take care of the dog, because he knows that on Saturday the dog's coming home, and then we'll drop it, we leave him there to watch Sunday night, or Saturday night through Sunday, because normally we didn't go to the shop on Sundays at all. So we would drop the dog off on Saturday, let him be in the shop, watching the place. When I say shop, I mean, like I said, it's a warehouse. I just call it a shop. And so he knows that was a schedule. So he went in. I said, that's why I want to say it was a Sunday night. But again, man, it could have been a Monday morning, but I just know it was dark. But then again, it was 3 days bleeding, so everything was dark.
I'm sorry.
Were you conscious and awake this entire time? I mean,
no. I mean, yes and no. I would come in, go out, come in, go out. I didn't move. I couldn't move because it was so far. It was looking at my stomach. There was a good 9 inches, possibly 12 inches of steel sticking out. So I knew there was no way I was getting off this post.
And so were you flat on the floor, or were you like suspended in midair?
Kind of like at a declined 45-degree angle.
Okay.
So my butt was on the ground, but my upper body was up against the big piece of metal.
And what were you like standing on a platform when you were pushed off?
No. It was just the metal was, like I said, it was just a big piece of metal with rods sticking out.
Okay.
And so that one, like I said, that one went straight through. So looking at it, like I fell backwards because he pushed, and I tripped over the back part of it. Where I tripped over with my heels, and then kind of like fell backwards, and that's what went through. So when I fell backwards, I guess if you were like squat, if you squatted down, that's kind of the position I was in.
Okay.
But with my back, not resting, but on a thing, and the post holding me there.
Okay.
So the dog, because the dog, I didn't put him inside. He was out running around, and so the dog was there with me, which was good. Dog's a man's best friend.
Yeah.
So the dog was there with me, and then the dog left. And I guess he was walking back and forth the entire time. I didn't know, but he was walking back and forth, and he was leading like a trail of blood from me to the door, from me to the door, from the door to me, from me to the door.
Wow.
So when my business partner's dad got there, he looked at the blood, and he's like, "What the?" And so he follows the blood, and he finds me, and he pulls me off, and I was took about a year or so recovery. I had 1,900 stitches, about a little over like 2,100 staples. I had a colostomy bag for about 9 months, 2 reversal surgeries. It was bad. I lost like 30% of my large intestine.
Whew.
Pieces of my colon. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good time. So after I was all healed up, you know, during that time, I couldn't walk. I couldn't do anything. I was suspended most of the day in like this traction machine, you know, cause I couldn't sit, I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. Cause, you know, once your abdomen is cut open and your back is cut open, you can't do anything. You can't lay, you can't sit, you can't walk, you can't do anything. So I was in this traction machine. And while I was in this traction machine, you know, I could move my arms, so I would just be on the internet, you know, just looking, and just searching different things. Like, you know, it brought me back, you know, brought me into the red pill, I guess, if you will, because that's when I discovered the George Bush's connection to cocaine trafficking, and it goes into Obama, it goes into everybody. So after I was all healed and everything, in about 2008, about 2008, I was, you know, all healed up, and I left the country because I was like, well, you know, I don't want them to know I'm still alive, even though I'm, you know, if they were still watching, I'm sure they knew.
Yeah.
But I didn't want them to know, you know, where I am or anything like that, so I just left. I bought 2 different plane tickets going in 2 different directions, and ended up taking a bus across the country. And then I would get off the bus every once in a while. I would take a train for a little bit, you know, the Amtrak.
Yeah.
I would jump on the Amtrak for a while. I'd get off the Amtrak, get back on a bus, you know, and I made it all the way out to California. Like I said, cross country. Mm-hmm. And then so while I'm in California, you know, I'm still on the hunt to be woke. And I figured the safest place for me to be was where they wouldn't go. So I went down to Mexico. And I was in Mexico for quite a while. And while I was there, I was traveling through this little town, this little resort town called Puerto Vallarta. Nice place. I don't know if you've ever been there, but you should go. It's a nice place.
I've never been.
So I was traveling. It's a nice place. So I was traveling through this place, and, you know, while watching the news, by just knowing everything, you know, searching the internet, I mean, you know, we know who the criminals are before they know they're criminals.
Exactly.
Right? So while I was in that little resort town, I made friends and know people, and I saw that this Keith Rainiere was in town, and I was like, that's the motherfucker. I know that name. And so I do a search on a name, and it brings up all this sex trafficking and cultism and occultism and Satanism and all this nasty shit. And I'm like, you know what? I was not always the nicest person. I didn't do all the nicest of things. But if I can do something to do something, I'm going to do something. So my plan was to go off him. That was my plan. The little resort towns, you can always access any hotel if you go through the beach. You know, it doesn't matter if they have a 7-mile high front gate. If you can get to the beach, you can get into any hotel anywhere.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we had a little equipment malfunction right there. The last thing I believe that was recorded was you talking about the fact that these resorts have access from any beach.
Yeah, from any beach, anywhere in the world, anywhere. It doesn't matter if they have big gates or small gates. It doesn't matter. If you can get through the beach, you can get onto the resort. So, like I said, my plan was to clear my karma. I'm going to get rid of this evil person and hopefully, you know, do something with myself to clear up my karma. Well, it didn't happen that way. What happened was, when I got onto the resort, I saw a guy that I met, a few days earlier, and he was I met him and he said he was a fisherman. You know, he would, because hey, you want to go fishing? I'm not going fishing, man. And I saw him, and he recognized me, and obviously I recognized him, and I was like, hey, man, you know, and what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I work here. I'm a waiter here. And a waiter. was like, well, I heard there's a guy staying here. His name's Keith. He's like, yeah, un gringo. He said, un gringo bien loco, a very crazy white guy. I was like, yeah, Keith Rainiere. Yeah, something like that, yeah. I was like, what room is he staying in? And he looked at me and he saw it in my eye. He was like, no. I was like, look, here's a story. And I told him this story. So he saw the look in my eye and he knew what my plan was without me even having to say my plan. Like, I told him this story about who the guy is. And he was like, well, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you what room he's in. I'm not going to let you do that. He told me, he was like, God has a plan for you. I was like, man, don't bring God into this mess. He was like, God has a plan for you. I was like, all right, well, here, let's do this. He's going to want food. Now, I know that if you're wanted anywhere and you use your credit card anywhere, they can track you. So I tell him that when he calls down for food, you tell him that the kitchen's closed. And you tell him to call a pizza place or something like that, where if you've ever been out of the country, when you order food over the phone, especially from a hotel, they don't do cash. You have to pay right there. You have to use your credit cards. So I was like, you tell him the kitchen's closed, and you tell him that he's got to call somewhere else. There's a Domino's right down the street. There's a Pizza Hut. You tell him he's got to call. He's like, all right. I was like, no, look, I'm being dead serious with you. This is very, very important. He's like, I understand. And just as I see, he says he understands, he goes and he talks to the kitchen staff, because the kitchen was like right there, sort of. And he was like, okay, yeah. I told him if the guy calls, if the name comes through, the kitchen's closed. And I was like, all right, man. So wouldn't you know it, the next day, or even actually it was later that night, it was maybe, I don't know, an hour or so after I was there, that dummy calls Domino's Pizza, orders a pizza because the kitchen's closed, and he has to use his credit card.
And that was it.
And that was that.
They got it. That was God's plan for you, dude. You had to go through everything that you went through just to be in the spot where Keith Rainiere was going to be in, and be smart enough to know who he was and what was going to happen. That is the most incredible story I've ever heard, Joe.
Now, just to go a little bit further, from that day forward, I dedicated my life to Jesus Christ. I became a certified ordained minister. I do right by the community. I've actually built a church with my own money in that same little town. I built a church with my own money, no donations, no crowdfunding, nothing. It was all, and I'm not saying, hey, I built a church, nothing like that, but that was the least I could do to show my respect for God saving my life.
That's more than once. He saved it back home, and then he saved it right there by stopping you from murdering someone. That's amazing.
And from that day forward, a thought to take care of somebody like that has never crossed my mind. No negative thoughts have ever affected me since that day. Nothing. There's been nothing. Even when I read all this about the Clintons and everybody, I want them to hang.
Yeah.
But I never had the thoughts that I gotta. I just gotta trust God.
Exactly.
And like our favorite Anon says, we gotta trust the plan. Whether it's his plan, whether it's God's plan, you gotta trust the plan.
Absolutely. Awesome, dude. Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on the show and telling me this. This is just like I said, I already said it. It's one of the most amazing stories I've ever heard. Do you have anything that you want to tell us about what's going on in the future, or do you want to just leave it at that?
Well, if I give too much about what I'm doing now, it'll give away my identity, and I don't want to do that. Gotcha. I'd appreciate my voice being covered up if we can do that somehow.
Yeah.
If you want to talk privately to me about what I got going on, I'll be more than happy, to tell you, what I have going on. But as far as on the air, no, I don't think I want to give up any more information. But I will tell your audience this: open your Bibles open your Bibles and put your faith in the Lord. Jesus Christ is here. He lives. Since 2016 or 2015, when Donald Trump was elected, Donald Trump and his team and Q team has brought Jesus Christ back to the United States, has brought Jesus Christ back into the world alive and well. I know there's many people who are naysayers, who doubt the presence of the Lord, who want to be agnostic and who don't want to believe. You don't have to trust me if you don't want to. That's your decision. But I'm saying, trust me. Jesus is real. God is real. And if we put our faith in him, he'll put his faith in us. When it says repent, it doesn't mean like forgive me or things like that, or oh, I'm sorry. It means that, all that, but also get yourself right with the Lord. Go back to God and he'll come back to you. And I believe, everyone you talk to, it doesn't matter who you talk to, everyone I talk to anyway, when I asked them why did you vote for Donald Trump? Why? And they said, it was a divine push. It was something that we just had to do. And now I see why we had to do it. Because if it wasn't for that man, none of this that we're seeing right now would happen.
Well said. Well said.
So that's that.
Well, thank you once again, Joe, for coming on the program. I really appreciate it. And I hope that we can stay in touch. And I'm sure that the audience is going to be very excited to hear your story. Now, I have one more question. When he was caught, you didn't have anything to do with like speaking to the authorities or anything like that, right?
I didn't speak directly to the United States authorities, but I was able to speak with the local federales to tell them what's about to happen and that they're going to get phone calls. And they looked at me like anyone else would look at me, like I'm just crazy. And I was like, well, you'll see. And sure enough, like I said, it was like an hour later. And that's when the helicopters came. That's when, the federales swooped in. That's when the FBI swooped in. And it was a sight to behold, let me tell you, because they did come in with helicopters. They came in with big black helicopters, and they rappelled down. They had their rappel lines. I mean, they stormed that place. It was a sight to see.
I bet it was. Okay. I guess the reason I asked is because I'm glad that you didn't have to worry about speaking to the American authorities and then maybe worrying about, being found and putting your life in danger again. Well, thank you for your bravery. I appreciate it, and your patriotism, man. It's been really, really wonderful to talk to you, and I'm so glad that we got the chance to connect like this.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for a very long time. Yeah, finally the stars lined up.
I'm glad they.
So yeah, thank you for your show, man. Thank you for all you do, and yeah, you have my contact info, and as long as you don't give that contact info up, we'll stay in touch.
All right, thanks again, and we'll hopefully be talking to you. Well, guys, I just want to say thank you very much for sticking through that interview. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'd like to say thank you very much to Joe for reaching out to me and deciding to share his story for the first time right here. Also, thank you very much for knowing exactly what to do when he saw evil incarnate and took action. It just goes to show that no matter what has happened in your life, no matter what the circumstance, whatever you've done before, if you decide to do the right thing and commit yourself to the light, you too can make a difference. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. Hey guys, it's Red Pill. I just wanted to say one more thing. Thank you very much to all my patrons. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. If anyone wants to help out, there are links in the description of this video below. Please make sure to subscribe to my backup channels in case anything happens here. I will begin publishing there. And if you guys have any questions or tips for me, please send me an email at redpill78@protonmail.com. Also, don't forget to make sure that you have notifications turned on for this channel. When you go to my channel page, there is a little bell. Click that bell and choose all notifications. And if you don't have one already, go sign up on Twitter and follow me there and make sure that your notifications are on. Because even if you don't get a notification from YouTube, I always have a notification that goes out on my Twitter page that lets you know every time I put out a new video. I look forward to reading your messages. I look forward to getting the news to you on a daily basis, and I look forward to seeing you all again in the next episode.